great person to bring in here. Danny's got an established history of successfully helping, I should say, people struggling with mental health disorders and substance abuse. I've seen him touch the lives of many people that I've been around and change their lives for the better. So I figured no better way to bring him on than we're sitting here talking about stuff like this, struggles we all face daily, and get his perspective. So, I mean, it's a great segue to what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, man, that's amazing. Danny, thank you so much for joining. You have anything to add before I ask you some questions?
Just thanks for having me, and I've been following your podcast, and I think it's really great what you're doing, and I'm just happy to be a part of it. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So my brother-in-law died of a heroin overdose, and we were doing a little bit of chatting right before we came in here. How these things have hit all families throughout the United States, and in my mind, it's like one of the biggest problems that we face, and it's been happening for a long time. So I think it's so commendable for you to be able to take the bull by the horns, see a problem, find the solution, and be able to help and elevate these lives. And, you know, we've all been at these funerals, and we've all seen the moms, you know, and the loved ones. And we all also see the human beings outside of these substances, who they are at the core. And, you know, those are what really pulls us to them, because we know who they were, you know, beforehand. We know, you know, how badly they're fighting. But I think it's hard for them to, you know, either come out of their shell and ask for help, or I think some of the services might be a little bit limited. I don't really know the ins and outs of your industry the way you would. But I did just want to try to talk to you a little bit about how this came on your radar. Like, what did you personally have to get through to get to where you are today?
Absolutely. I myself am in recovery. You know, I grew up here in Howell, New Jersey, and had a wonderful life. I had everything that I can ask for as a kid, all the love and care in the world from my parents. You know, my parents have been married my entire life. I can't pinpoint a huge traumatic experience that I had that I could go, hey, that's why I messed up. But it seemed to come through our town like a tidal wave. Mm-hmm. You know, I was a straight A student. I was in honors classes, AP student, really good with sciences in school. Got a full ride scholarship to Fairleigh Dickinson University for medical bioengineering. You know, I knew my stuff, but all this while I was living a double life. And, you know, it took me down really hard in college. And we had the opioid epidemic that came through. You know, at first when I started using, you know, first it was marijuana, then cocaine, some ecstasy went through, you know, high school for a while. But the opiates were a whole different game.
Yeah.
And literally I went from using one Oxycon pill, a 30 milligram pill, to using 14 a day in a matter of about 2.5 months. And this was back in, you know, this is 2007, 2008. So the laws just recently changed with Obama with medical insurance, where that you had to get, all insurances had to cover addiction services. Nice. And but it was also simultaneously when these Oxycontin was just wild. Like you could just get them. It was like Skittles. So we were going around, me and my friends, literally every single one of my friends, we were all in it together. And we were doctor shopping up and down New Jersey, getting hundreds of these things a week. And we all became addicted to it. And sadly, over those years, I lost 27 of my friends. You know, and we were young, you know, like it wasn't like we died in an alleyway. It was our parents finding us in our bedroom, not breathing anymore. Mm-hmm. And it was tragic to the point where like you became numb to it. You became numb to it, and you lose so much of yourself in the process of addiction that you really don't know who you are anymore. And you just feel like such an outcast, and you don't know how to reconnect, that it's not even worth trying at that point. You know, my family was devastated seeing what I was going through, and there's no handbook for parents on exactly what to do. And they were just, all they did was question, what did I do wrong? Because that's what you would do as a parent. What did I do wrong to put my kid here? And so they're struggling, they're fighting. My little sister, who's 7 years younger than me, she starts cutting herself because her parents are fighting. Her brother's out of the house. So my other sister's just trying to be the perfectionist and keep everything together. So I'm not just affecting myself. I'm affecting everybody around me that loves me.
Yeah.
And through that process, I was intervened, put into several different treatment centers, and it seemed that every time I went into a treatment center, I would come out worse. And it was a struggle, and it was really disheartening to the people who love me because they were, they think they're finally going to get it. I think a lot of people have a vision when it comes to mental health or behavioral health that, it's like a broken arm, and you're going to go into the hospital and you're going to come out with a cast and it's going to heal. And it's not that simple. And, the lying would get worse. The trust rebuild would get worse every time I went back out. And, I finally gave up on myself. I went out to California to get sober. I went through the whole treatment. I stayed through the whole thing, and then wanted to rebuild my life out there. At least that's what I said. And really I just wanted to be out there so I didn't hurt anybody close to me. I didn't want them to see me anymore. And that's when I found methamphetamine. And I was introduced to that. I was working at some bars out there, bartending, and introduced to that. And it was 2 months I was homeless, living in, deserted buildings, running around with some chick. And I tried to actively commit suicide several times, using more and more methamphetamine every time I would use. I'd wake up in an alleyway somewhere, they would, my friends at the time would drag me out there. They don't want to deal with a dead body kind of thing. Wake up, walk back into the abandoned building, do it all over again. And that's what my life became. And my mom, being the amazing lady that she is, and my dad, but my mom, she just was not having it. And she decided that she was just going to go find me. No one knew where I was. They just knew I was in the desert in Palm Springs, California somewhere. And she went out there, and I say that she's always the gangster one in the family. And she literally went on there, and she found the chick. She knew the chick that I was with, and figured out through Facebook updates exactly where she was going to be. And she hid in a bush outside the airport, and my girlfriend at the time came there to pick up somebody, and she hijacked the car. Literally jumped in the car, said, "You're taking my son right now," and she didn't even know what hit her. My girlfriend at the time, and so she was just like, "Okay," and brings my mom to this abandoned house that we were living in. And I hear pounding at the door, and I was all strapped up. I had a belt over my arm. I was ready to go, and I hear this banging at the door. I thought it was the cops, and so I'm frozen, fear. And I look, and then I just see the door open and a silhouette of a person, this light shining through, and then I hear my mom's voice, and I was like, what? I was totally shocked. And it was I regressed to a 3-year-old state of mind at that point. I was like, "Okay, Mom, I'm coming with you." And we got in the car. We went back, about halfway back to where we were going to pack up bags or whatever and get on an airplane to go somewhere. The psychosis of the meth hit me. I was up for probably about 6 to 7 days straight at this point. So you're not thinking rationally whatsoever. And I started telling my mom, just let me die. Let me go. Let me die. And, I couldn't imagine being the mom and hearing your son say that and, be serious about that statement. And she wouldn't let me have it. She called the cops. The cops came. They were amazing men that, honestly, they could have not give two shits about me, but they kept trying. I ended up getting in a full-out brawl with them. They ended up having to taser me about 3 times. I didn't even know they had stray jackets. I thought that was a movie thing. I was in a stray jacket, thrown into a psych ward. The guy sitting here today, you would never think that I was like that, but yeah, but that I ended up in a psych ward, and my grandfather saw a commercial to some treatment center that came on that just seemed different than anything else, and just by happenstance that it was right down the street from where I was. And they were the only
divine intervention.
Yeah, it was it was a God moment. Everything just lined up, and I ended up at this place. And it opened up my eyes to a new way of recovery, and it was amazing. And I was like, "Oh, I got this." But this, after 28 days, they told me, "Hey, there's not anything like us outside of here. So I know this is different and it's working for you, but you're going to have to go do the old thing that you've done 6 times and failed already."
That had to be deflating.
Yeah.
But then they bring you back with some of those same people, the friends you were referring to, and kind of the same type of things, that same environment.
Well, I was scared because I was coming back to New Jersey, which I haven't been in a while. All my friends are using. My drug dealer literally lived behind my house. So so I was scared, and I was like, I finally have this breath of fresh air. Like, I could do this. Yeah. And you're telling me, I know I need to continue this. I know this, it's like I'm not cured right now. I need to continue the work. And you're telling me that it doesn't exist. So, I called my mom and I was crying to her on the phone, and she simply said, "If it's not there, we'll build it."
Lynn's solid, dude. Like,
you can tell.
That's her baby boy. You can't tell me there would have been no ends your mother would have went to in her heart, try to save you. I mean, she flew to California. She's kicking in motel room doors.
You know what I was envisioning as he was talking about that? When you hear stories about women like lifting up cars because their baby's underneath it, like that was her way. Like 100%. She found, I'm sure she was super, because as a parent, I'm kind of thinking how she was thinking and everything. She wasn't thinking anything else but saving her kid, and anything that she could do, she's doing, including hijacking your freaking car.
Yeah.
But that's that superpower that comes out of these parents. We talk about being a parent a lot. That superpower came out. She was going to save her baby. And that's so incredible. And I remember exactly what you were talking about, because my group of friends was into drinking, smoking weed, ecstasy, maybe a little bit here and there, coke kind of a little bit here and there. I was a little bit older or naive to what they used to call the blues. And I would watch my friends, and my graduating class, one of my really good friends died of a heroin overdose. But I didn't really know that stuff. I didn't really hear about it. I didn't know much about it. And then once the blues came out, it was almost, that was like, is that what they're referring to, what you were taking? Yeah. Dude, I just watched these people. And then what was happening was they would either stay on the blues, and that was taking them nowhere good, or they would go from the blues to heroin,
Yeah, well, that's what a lot of people ended up doing, because, the Oxycon was cheap at first. They called it hillbilly heroin, because you could get 30 milligrams, of Oxycon for about $15. By 2009, 2010, that price shot up to $30, $40 a pill. So, but you could get the equivalent in heroin for $5.
Right.
So that's I switched at the end of my college stint before I went to my first rehab. We all were on heroin, and by that time, because it was just economically made more sense.
Yeah. So you were mentioning that your mom said, "Okay, we're going to build it." So what did that look like? How did that?
So we came home, and I got really into Eastern philosophy, into Buddhism, into meditation, just taking care of your body as a temple, a lot of holistic things, acupuncture. Part of my Oxycontin addiction, I was an amateur pro motocross racer. So I got into Oxycontin because I broke my back.
A lot of stories start just like that.
That's what introduced me to that, and that's what allowed me to go doctor shopping, because I had injuries.
Right.
And genuine ones, too. Yeah. Like, it's not like you were walking in saying, "My knee hurts," and your knee is fine.
Yeah. I mean, I had 4 crushed vertebrae. Yeah. I was in the Halo device for a while, all that. So it was, it was serious, and I needed to take care of that. And so, I got into fitness and all these great things. And so we basically created what was working for me in the treatment center here. That was a lot harder, and this was 2010. So, yoga didn't really exist in Jersey yet. Like, that whole holistic wave didn't hit yet. So it was hard trying to figure out a system for myself. Another huge part of therapeutic modality that I used was called inner child therapy. And shout out Noah Rothschild. That guy saved my life, and he was able to unravel where my irrational beliefs about life came from, because that's what keeps us in the cycle of not making change happen. We have irrational thoughts about things. When you have irrational thoughts, it leads to irrational emotions, which lead to irrational behaviors, right? So to interrupt that, I needed to decipher where did my thoughts come from that led me to this irrational belief. And it was really hard because I didn't have that traumatic experience. I could go, that's it right there. So he introduced me to inner child therapy, which allowed me to unravel my thought processes and where they came from, where they stem from my childhood. And because I could see it now, I knew what I needed to change. And I knew my red flags on like, hey, how to stop myself. So I continued with him, and we built a plan for myself with all these different modalities that worked for me. And my friends started asking me, hey, you're doing really well. Can I get some of that? And I was like, yeah. So we started a little group and got some people, started helping them through recovery plans and make recovery plans for themselves. And then we were all looking at each other like, hey, we're all 21 years old trying to do this sober thing. It's quite difficult in New Jersey. Everything at 21 years old is related to drinking. So like, let's make a meetup group that we do kick-ass things, but we just do it sober, Because I still want to go to an EDM concert. Yeah. I love reggae music. I want to go dance to reggae. I just can't smoke weed anymore. And I want to go do these things. So that's where our nonprofit started from, is just getting people together to go have fun and take on life and rebuild that passion and purpose in your life again.
Well, you're kind of teaching people how to live and get enjoyment out of life. You're teaching them again how to do it sober.
Yeah.
So I know what you guys do. Ski trips, concerts, bowling, whatever it is. You're building that sober network for people to realize, like, all right, I don't have to be fucked up to enjoy the company I'm with and enjoy the day. Like, I know people that you've given those tools and opened their eyes to a whole new life, that they stand today incredibly involved with your organization and are probably some of the biggest mouthpieces you have outside of me, because I tell everybody about you. There's nothing short of what you're doing. I mean, you're doing nothing short of something that's incredible. You've made an impact on especially our area at a time where no one was doing aftercare and focusing on making those changes through different means. It was like, I guess the system was kind of broken, and it was like a conveyor belt. You're on, you're out, you're back on. You've put a cog in the machine that stops it a little bit. I mean, I know people, you got huge time sober. I have people in my life that have been through your program that are embracing 3, 4, 5 years clean. It's impressive what you're teaching them. Yeah, I mean, it's touching everybody.
And you know what the funny part is? It's really not a complicated process. It really isn't. It's when the opposite of addiction is connection, right? What does addiction do? It disconnects you from everything in your life. It disconnects you mentally, physically, spiritually. So as long as if you just provide people with outlets and you don't judge them on what outlet they decide to connect with, you're going to have success. And the hardest part is giving the opportunities of connection. In terms of sustaining that for a larger and larger group of people, which has happened over the years, and that's been the formula has never changed. It's just how do we help more people, and that's always been the more difficult aspect, with our nonprofit side. But it's been an amazing journey going through what I went through, being at the bottom of the bottom, and then being able to sit there across from other families and help people, my peers that are going through the same thing, but also had that firsthand experience of helping a family and a mother go through something that I put my mother through.
Yep.
And that allowed me to have this wider lens on life, and I look at things a lot differently because of those experiences. So as much as I was helping other people stay sober, every single one of them was helping me become a better man at the end of the day. And that's why I'll always continue this work for the rest of my life, because at the end of the day, I don't know everything. But I know if I help one life at a time, I get a better view of what life's all about.
So that's what we're kind of here for, just talking. No real experience in helping people, nothing like you, but we had a conversation last week, and where I really admire you is doing what you're doing. You have to take the good with the bad, right? And we had a conversation about how sometimes you feel taken advantage of or unappreciated. And I've never done anything for anybody in hopes of getting benefit from it. But I'd like to feel appreciated or not used. And PD agreed and said the same thing. How do you deal with that? Because, I mean, you're interacting with a lot of people. I know you're interacting with a lot of people. You can't tell me there's not people that have or will try to take advantage of you and what you're bringing to them. You know, you're only as good as the last thing you did for somebody in a lot of people's minds.
Yeah, there's cycles of it, you know. I think, you know, when someone, a big part of it is really mastering that empathetic mindset with humans and understanding the human problem, and working through with people. If they're not ready to make change, or they can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, like what am I doing this? What's the bullseye that I'm aiming for? What does that feel like? They're going to constantly sabotage, and that usually means hurting the person that's across the table from them. And I understand that. I've had to come to understand that. And at first it used to irk me, but I've gotten way better at handling my own emotions and thinking rationally even through those upsetting times. But, you know, there's a lot of people out there that, you know, I've tried to help, and, you know, when they start self-sabotaging, it becomes you didn't do enough for me. And that doesn't hurt as much as like when they try to like hurt you, because they're not getting a rise out of you. So now they start trying to poke, you know, all your soft spots. But I am different in the sense that I've always been able to handle that well. My mom, on the other hand, she struggled with that a lot because
She was taking stuff to heart.
because I gave her PTSD. You know, I mean that's the God honest truth. I gave my mom PTSD, and every single person that she was saving, she saw me, not that person. And which
That's a heavy burden, though. Yeah, that's.
she was saving me every time, and when it didn't work, she lost her son.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I'm standing right next to her, you know, and it look, she put in 12 years of working hard, but it took a toll. And then like just over this last year, I had to tell her like, hey, I think it's time. Like, you know, like go enjoy it. I wanted her and my dad to reconnect and enjoy each other because, you know, my parents gave up a lot for me. One, to save my life, but two, then I took over the entire house to build an organization for all these people from the street coming in to save their lives. Like we literally took over their farm, and they allowed me to do that and allowed me to run with it. And it was like, you know, I mean, you know, my dad and my mom haven't had privacy in their lives for 12 years, and you know, it gets to you after a while. So, you know, I had to have the hard conversation. She resisted for a while. But finally, like, she finally, like, laid down the sword.
But she probably appreciated where you were coming from. But
oh, yeah.
The flip side as a parent, she probably didn't want to let go of that relationship that she had rebuilt with you, right? So she missed out on a lot of time with you while you were struggling with your demons and your addiction. But now you're home. Mm-hmm. Now you and her are tag team.
Oh, yeah.
It was, you couldn't see Danny without Lynn, and Danny obviously wouldn't be where he is without her, and who knows where she'd be if he wasn't here. You know, so your mom probably wanted to hold on to those moments with you right now that she had so hard because she missed so many good times previously. And now I see her, she's living life, enjoying time. And I mean, you and Alyssa are just expanding her work and your work, and she's got to know that deep down in her heart, she made the right decision to step away so that you guys could prosper on your own. And it was time for you to embrace and grow the foundation that she put down for you. You know, it's admirable that you took that.
We had to come to like in terms like it was for her to like step back. What was happening? Like, you know, we're in everybody else's chaos, right? Like,
But
because we
bringing
become
chaos to you guys.
Well,
Definitely.
it's like family dinner. We're supposed to be having like a nice family Sunday dinner, and we're talking about like how to save Charlie, like on Monday, like, and what's going on. Like, we're not having any discussions about us, and
It's all about helping others.
Exactly, it was great, but you have to learn how to balance that, and that's part of that balance aspect. And
I don't think that sounds sustainable for you or your mom or your relationship. My dad gets pissed off with my mom's a realtor and I do mortgages. So our like Easter or some of these dinners, and we're talking real estate, my dad's rolling his eyes. Like, you guys can't wait till after? Like, you have to talk about that now, but
it's
when
your
it kind of
go-to.
consumes you like that, and it is your go-to.
Yeah, and now we have like a close relationship, like, and now that she stepped back, it's like rekindled again. Like, when we're talking about deeper things. We're talking about kids. I'm getting life advice, like, hey, I'm in my 30s, going like looking at 40 soon. Like, what's the next step in life? What should I expect, Mom?
And one thing we all have to realize too, because for years I was very resistant to advice from especially my father, but he's experienced everything that I'm experiencing already. So like, we could resist that advice, but having that outlet and being able to have that relationship still with your mom is invaluable, because you could sit there and she could talk till she's blue in the face when you were 20-year-old Danny and you didn't want to hear it. Today you realize how smart she is. I know I've stepped back and like, even now in a diminished capacity, I talk to my dad and he can teach me every day. And I realize now, I joke with him, I said, man, you got real smart since I'm 20. But that's because I've gotten smart enough to listen and hear and absorb what he's saying. And, you said something earlier about everybody you're trying to help, you're in turn helping yourself. And I said it last week. My toxic trait is kind of I want to fix everybody, but I can't fix me. And at the root of that, like, I know I got some issues. I'll figure them out. But sitting here talking to Pete, talking to you, that's kind of like my therapy session. And I've been able to take a step back, and for where my dad is and my mom, I'm now able to communicate with them much better than I used to be. So like, I'm figuring me out, and I wish that I did it earlier, but at 38 years old, hopefully I have plenty of time to refine myself. But you give me some hope, because I'm hearing you say, you're helping them to help you. And the relationship you have with your mom and your father now is different than it was. And I hope that I get that peace at some point, because you've kind of figured it out. Maybe I got to go do yoga. You're talking about it. Maybe I'll come to CFC. We'll go skiing or whatever. Last time I was on a mountain, I broke my ankle. But I'm willing to try just to find that peace that you've brought yourself and everybody around you, or, the majority of people around you.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, there's something to be said about these social gatherings that you have to be effed up at. Because my point was going to be, I remember days with smoking weed with your friends when you're younger, that like, if you're going to the mall, like, oh, you got to smoke first. If you're going to the movies, oh, you got to smoke first. You're going to a great adventure, we got to get high on the way. Like, it's so easy to fall into that, even with something, like marijuana.
Yeah.
But to be able to normalize these events outside of what society's kind of telling us, you put on the TV and, you're watching football and you got all these beer commercials, tequila commercials, vodka. It's like, oh, yeah. Everything involved with watching a football game is have to be hammered. Yeah. Everything involved with a wedding, you have to be hammered. I've been on the other side of that for 8 years, and like, I could have just as much fun. I'm not on the dance floor as much. I'm not lingering to the bar, obviously, but I'm having a blast at cocktail hour. They come by with the cocktail shrimp, scallops wrapped in bacon. Like, that's my favorite part of the wedding. But then you just see the demise of everybody quickly. And it's like, it's no longer as fun anymore. Cocktail hour is fun because everyone's kind of juiced up over that buzz. Once everyone's hammered at your table, it's like, there's nothing to even talk about it.
The sober guy at that drunk person table, and now you have to babysit everybody.
Yeah.
Because they're all out of control.
Which I'm still okay with, because a lot of my close people were babysitting me. So it's like, hey, no problem, I can babysit now.
But it's like frustrating a little bit sometimes.
A little bit at times, for sure.
You got to embrace it, because somebody, like you said, somebody took care of you at some point. Somebody took care of me a million times.
I think there is a change coming with, we have that like no drink November. Like there is a social push
I've
for
noticed
like
that. It seems like young
clearing
people.
your head. Yeah, I mean, Watermark and Asbury, the lounge, they're doing sober socials every Wednesday now, and we take the group there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Great.
I didn't know about that.
But yeah, we go to, it's a night lounge. They have mocktails, so like they're cocktails without alcohol. They said they made more money that night than they ever do on any of the weekends, and I bet they did because
There's a
you're
large
paying
community,
$12 for a mocktail and there's no alcohol in it.
And a lot of people.
It's water, juice, and a leaf of mint. $12. It was a cool night out, and a lot of people in recovery, obviously, but like everybody's dancing. It's like the vibe's cool, and you know what? No drama.
I'm sure.
No drama.
I'm sure the drama doesn't start.
Well,
the drama doesn't start until
clear-headed.
somebody's got a few too many in them.
Yeah, it's no boyfriends and girlfriends fighting in the hallway or anything like that. But there is this big push, and I think it's awesome to see how much it's evolved over the 12 years because there was nothing like that. When I first came out of treatment, I got into fitness, and I started doing the Mudman X's and all those competitions, like the obstacle courses. And I won my class and whatever the class that I was in, and got to the end of it. I'm so proud of myself. It was like one of my first things that I won in recovery, and I was like, I didn't care what the prize was, but I was excited to be on the podium and get my prize. And I won a 12-pack of beer.
Oh, see?
Yeah.
Come on.
And I there's a picture of me on the podium, like looking at this, like.
So confused at the moment.
like it was like one of those moments like, oh man, we're screwed.
That was different times then. You're right, though. There has definitely been a pendulum
there has
switch over to a different life that, like, not to knock the generation prior to us, but they were able to like marathon drink and like still get shit done. Like, yeah, I'm fucking crushing beer, but I'm getting paid every Friday. Like, it's all good. And then, like, I think us younger people, I don't know if we went too hard. Like, we weren't on, I don't think our journey was as, like, it wasn't sustainable.
Well,
it
we were
was kind of like life or death.
We were exposed to all that stuff way younger than, like, our parents.
Is that what it
were.
was, though?
I think it has to be.
But
look at music today.
Yeah.
I mean, I put on a song, and I have to be selective because, like,
you're right.
They're talking about lean and this and that, and they're glorifying that. It's different. When we were growing up, like, this was now becoming prominent. People are talking about using substances, not substance abuse, but getting high and all that in a song. And these are people that, in theory, you're looking up to. They're famous, rich, whatever, successful, and now it's commonplace. So we're desensitized to that. So you could tell me just say no all day, but that guy has got a whole album about getting fucked up,
and he's got millions.
Yeah, he's living life. Got a Rolls
think
Royce,
about
big house,
what
whatever.
happened in the 80s and 90s, and just what happened socially. And I think there was a huge social shift here in America. Just early 90s, you got Rodney King, that started like the whole destruction of like the distrust for the police force, right? You got our president getting blowjobs in the Oval Office. Yeah. You had so much screwed up shit starting
Society
to
was
happen
kinda
that
crumbling.
you're looking at it and you're just questioning, and then
Questioning
the
everything.
accountability goes. Like you're like, why should I listen to anything?
Yeah, if the president isn't practicing what he preaches, then how am I supposed to listen to my teacher or my parent or this coach?
And then it's getting compounded with the music, what's on TV. Like reality TV became a thing. Like people are literally getting famous over being
wasted
shitty people, and we're glorifying it, and like you fall into it, you don't even realize it is happening, but as I dissect these things, I'm like, no wonder we're so rebellious. And then that access to substances changed.
Yeah.
The influx of that, the internet, where you could just get it from anywhere. The Silk Road was a thing in college. I don't know if you ever heard of that. It was the first like dark web thing. It was the first Bitcoin, like when Bitcoin was like 25 cents that you could buy.
You should have bought the Bitcoin.
Substances. We were having mushrooms sent to our dorm room, like from the internet. Like this is like,
that's crazy.
This is the coolest thing ever, But like, that's what happened to society, and you're seeing it like kids are using younger and younger. We have an adolescent program at our treatment center.
But do you think that's because they're so desensitized to all that shit?
Absolutely, and I think parents are consumed by it. Like we're stuck in our phones. we were brought up in that, and I don't even know if a lot of people don't recognize that they might be present, but they're not there.
Yeah.
You know,
This guy is speaking our language.
And I think
Told you you'd like Danny.
I think that's happening a lot, you know, and kids are falling apart because of it, and we don't see it. And then we're very narcissistic. Because everything became an app, right? Yeah. We have an app for that.
Yeah.
We don't got an app for children. Yeah. We don't got an app to parent. I mean, a lot of people think their iPad may be a parent sometimes, but it's not. And you know, we have 11-year-olds coming in here that are into our treatment center they're messed up, you know, thinking about things. 11-year-old, like, I remember being 11, none of this was on my mind. And it's not like they grew up in you know, horrible situations. No, it's just what they're introduced to.
We had less access to a life like that. So my son is 6. I go downstairs the other day. He's downstairs with his friends. They're playing. I walk down. He's got Xbox on, and he's trying to play Grand Theft Auto. But I didn't play Grand Theft Auto until I was like 15. First of all, I don't even know when it came out, but I think that's when it came out. But there's no reason that my 6-year-old should even know what that is.
Right.
The language, the violence, which I'm cool with violence. I'm all right with that. But it sets such a bad example for what real life is. And it gives him, again, it's taken away the sense that this is wrong. Now you're 6, you're seeing people carjacking people, and you're running from the cops. What does that tell you to do when you're older? You're being taught that from the time you're 5, 6 years old?
Or that's funny.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's not fun running from the police.
No.
Yeah, no, that's such a good point that he brought up with the adolescents, because I have a 3rd grader, and I'll find myself, as much as I try to talk about being self-aware of all this stuff with the cell phone and everything, like, I wonder, like, what he's thinking when, like, we're sitting on the couch together, whatever, and I'm like on my phone, like something in him is pulling him to either like try to get my attention or, you know, or if he doesn't necessarily have my attention, like where's his mind going? I think that's a very susceptible moment that we're unfortunately creating. We love these kids, but whatever the hell we're doing that's taking top priority over them is not necessarily giving them what they need.
Well, they're realizing maybe that they're not at that moment at your forefront. You could try to make them your priority at that minute, but I know it happens to me all the time. I'm answering emails, whatever it is. I'm taking a call.
And sometimes your responses are so quick, so you don't think it's a big deal because you're like, hey, let me get back to so-and-so. And then they just 3-dotted you.
I noticed it the other night. I'm laying on the couch. Rosie's sick. We're cuddling. My phone went off. I had to ask her to get off my arm so I could reach for my phone, answer it. It was a 30-second thing, but then we're cuddling again. But now I interrupted that. And how does that make her feel? She's 3.
Well, isn't it the same as if you had a parent that's on drugs?
Yeah.
They're choosing something over you. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just something being chosen over you. And I'm guilty of it, and we all are, especially, you know, we're all, you know, business owners of some sort sitting here. We're busy, you know. I'm in addiction treatment. It's 24/7. We got things happening, you know, so... And it's a great, valid excuse for me to do it. You know, and the one biggest thing that made me reflect on it, I don't know if you guys seen it, Bluey. Have you seen the show Bluey?
Of course.
That is the guy. That is the dad I want to be. Have you ever watched the show?
It's a great show.
Bluey's parents are the best parents on earth. Like, they have all the time in the world to play all the imaginary games with them, and it's like a really. I cry at every episode because there's like deeper meaning to every episode, but. I was just like, it made me realize, like, how many times am I just tired on the weekend, on that day, and I'm trying to decompress from my week, from whatever I worked on, but I'm doing it by, like, scrolling through, like, stupid videos on Instagram, you know, and, like, I'm telling my kids, like, hey, sit over there and give dad, like,
give me a breather.
You know? And that 10-minute ask turns into an hour, you know? And, like, why can't I find that decompression sitting with them? And so I've been really trying to create a schedule for myself when I do have that downtime when I'm not working. It's like, hey, let's go to the park and let me leave my phone at home.
Perfect.
You know, those kind of things. And but it's hard. You know,
can you successfully leave your phone at home?
I can a lot of the time, or leave it in the car.
But you make a conscious effort and you can do that.
Yeah. I can.
I struggle with it so much, dude. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. I'm on the football field coaching football, and I used an excuse and I have to be accessible to my mom in case something happens with my dad. That's bullshit. I'm wrapped up in the phone because I'm an idiot. I can't put it down. I just don't have I'll say I don't have the courage to put it down because I don't want to deal with it later. Or I want to scroll through and see whatever on Facebook. I want to see, my cousin's video of him racing at FL2K, whatever it is a crutch. But I just can't put the phone down.
There's a time and place.
Yeah.
The world used to operate where people couldn't get in touch with you.
I have kids that I know that are 7, 8 years old that have phones.
Yeah,
I don't get that.
I'll
That's what I was going to say.
Hold off on that as long as
if I'm
possible.
over here with tech neck scrolling through my phone while I'm supposed to be interacting with my kids, when they actually do have a phone in their hand,
They're
and
not
I'm
going to be
supposed to tell
interacting
them,
with
like,
you.
stop scrolling, they're going to be like, you fucking stop scrolling, dude. You're over here with tech neck.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be like, oh, shit, you're right.
Fair point.
Where we need to kind of show them the way. I never thought about cell phone on an addictive manner the way we're talking right now, but it's a total addiction. Like I've been doing.
They program it that way.
Yeah, you're
it's
conditioned.
straight programmed that way. I've been intentionally not looking at my phone for a while in the morning, and that at least gives me a little bit of clarity. But then I get a little bit anxious when I'm removed from it, which is terrible. But it's like the unknowns of what's going to be
I
there.
have nothing but
at it the whole
anxiety
time.
without my phone.
Yeah.
It's sitting right next to
I
me.
know, we talked about this
that
before.
I can't do because I wake up in the morning and I have to look at all the crazy stuff that happened in the sober livings because
Right.
I have treatment centers in Florida as well as here, so I have to catch up with
Catch
our
up right
whole,
away?
Well, that's gotta be a
I have
lot.
to know exactly what's happened, if there's
So
any
what happens after
liability, if
that?
there's any medical issues.
So what happens after you catch up? Like, do you take a moment?
I have
When do you
an
do your
8
cold
a.m.
plunge
meeting
and
every
stuff?
day that we log in and I have to give everybody their directives.
All right, so that's at 8, and then what does that last, about an hour?
About 30 minutes.
You find any time for yourself, like after that type of stuff? Like, where's your ice plunge? Where's your workout? When are you
I've
building
been
that stuff
slacking
in?
on it. I've been
Have you?
slacking on it. I gotta
Yeah.
say, I mean, I was really good with it, and we had a live in. My wife is running all of my nonprofits, so she's working 40 hours a week through the weekend, stuff like that. I'm all over the place. I'm flying back and forth to Florida and New Jersey. We do have 2 kids, and I'm trying to, the time that I have, I want to be the active dad that's doing things with them, not just a dad sitting on the couch trying to recover from the work week. And so it's been tough where I don't have any me time right now, and I gotta find it. We had a live-in nanny that helped with pickups, and I had some time to work out after work every day. But she moved on, went to somewhere else, and we have this amazing babysitter. I love to death. Her name is Ruth. She got no TVs in her house.
Solid.
All my kids sign language. They go over there. They
Nice.
play with
That's
horses.
cool.
Yeah, she's amazing, but she doesn't drive to me. I have to drive to her. She lives in Cream Ridge. So, that doesn't make any convenience, for me. So it's been rough trying to find that. I haven't found the answer yet.
I was hoping you had some answers because I need some answers myself. So I was hoping, because I get real overwhelmed in the morning after I drop my 2 and 3 year old off at daycare for a few hours. It's only 2 days a week, but it takes me like a solid 45 minutes to level back out, which is weird because they're fine now. But when they were bugging out, it would they'd be back in school. The app shows you what they're doing, and I would see that they're smiling and having a good time. But I was so worked up the whole way through because they just screamed at me for 15 minutes on the way there. Then you drop them off, and you're pushing them into the building so they can get off you. And then I'm on my phone, and I got my clients hit me up, and sometimes I'll just ghost somebody in the morning for
you're
a
getting
little while.
overwhelmed.
It's all right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have anything nice that I can give right now, so I'm gonna get myself right for a second. Whether
Use
that's
your
a
kids
walk.
as an example, though. They had
Yeah.
that short memory. They were freaking out. They got in the building.
Yeah,
Probably within
take my own advice.
5 minutes, they're good.
they're good.
Short memories. You gotta have it.
I think as we get older, though, it's hard to flip from one task to the other.
Oh,
It gets
it's
harder
terrible, yeah.
to flip. We don't recover from it. And, even when I had that time after work, people are still trying to call me, whatever last minute things at the end of the day about things. So, it was really hard to even work out. When I was bodybuilding and stuff, my life was a lot simpler back then.
Right.
But I had 2 hours to go to the gym, and I was in it and focused, and it just felt good. You got that pump, and it was great. And you met people and talked with them at the gym. It was a whole thing, right? And it was culture. And now it's I'm okay, I got 45 minutes, and I'm so in my head that I can't even get a pump because I'm I'm not in it. You know what I mean?
All
I'm
the
just
other
like,
things you have
how
to
much
do.
can I fit in 40 minutes?
It happened to me
You know?
yesterday. I was at the gym. My phone. Now I'm at the gym for an hour with Robbie Leaks at Leaks Fitness, and I leave the phone at the front, trying to make a conscious effort to dedicate my time to that. Phone went off like 6 times. First time it rang, I ignored it. It rang again right after that. I have to go get the phone. Now I have to take a break. It's a high intensity workout, so there's no real rest. Pete's been there. Now I have to take that rest. Now my heart rate drops. Everything levels out. I'm on the phone. I get off the phone. We're back to same thing. It was a repetitive cycle yesterday. There's nothing worse than not making an effort to focus on you for like just an hour.
You have to, though.
And but you're sitting there. And for me yesterday, just because I'm going through some stuff at work, I had to tend to my phone, and it fucking sucked.
Dude, there's always going to be that blank space of why you have to attend to your phone. Right now, it's because you have something going on.
But usually,
But 2 weeks from now, it's going to be something
able to
different.
to
All right, good.
dissociate for that hour at the gym. Yeah. That 3 days a week, I'm able to just put the phone down and not worry about it. This week was a little different, and it sucked because I've proven to myself that for that hour that I'm in the gym and I'm moving nonstop, I can disconnect for a minute. This week I just couldn't, and I felt like I was kind of letting Robbie down. You know, listen, he's my trainer, but I don't want to disappoint him. Like, we're here to work. Let's get after it. Let me get off the phone. But, you know, you feel like a failure at that point a little bit for me because I just can't disconnect.
Yeah, and when you're interrupting that time, you're already like,
it's unsettling just to talk about this. Yeah, I feel what you're talking about.
You get that shame and guilt, you know, that like, and you're like, oh, I did it again.
And you know, nothing's easy. Like you said, business owners building a brand, building, you know, your future, our family's future. It's scary when the phone rings and you don't answer it. But what's really scary is when you do answer it, what are you missing, right? So like we're talking about having kids and all that. When that phone rings and I'm answering it with my kids, I'm never going to get that time back. I'm never going to have a 3-year-old daughter. Well, I'll never have a 3-year-old Rosalie again. Mm-hmm. I'll have a 3-year-old Josephine, and hopefully I find a little more balance with her than I did with Rosie and a little bit more than I did with Max. But you're missing those moments that are meaningful for stuff that in the moment seems important, but it's meaningless.
For sure.
I mean, when you start breaking it down, it's, you know, your kids, when they're all about you, you're like the world's greatest hero until they switch to that like teenage angst.
We were talking about that.
Yeah, you get what, like 10 years maybe.
Just
so
about.
You get 10 birthdays, 10 Christmases, 10 Thanksgivings, and when you break it down to 10, it's like you know,
you realize how short that window is.
Small.
Yeah.
You know.
Dude, that window's closing by the day. I was telling you, my son's going to be 9 in March. So we got 1 year left till we get to 10.
Yeah.
Now I think I still got a little bit of wiggle room there. For him, it might be a little bit later, but still, it's.
I think boys would take a little bit longer than girls. Yeah.
I feel like Max is going to be like done with me at 10. I feel like my daughters, I probably got till I'm like 15. I don't know, they just like they love their dad, and like Rosie and me started our friendship late.
You were saying
hated me as a baby. The girls, Mare's going to handle that. I'll handle Max. I want my princesses to always know Dad wants to hug them. I don't ever want to discipline them.
For sure.
I don't know. I'm a sucker for my girls. I could yell at Max all day, and I'm sure there's going to come a point where he's going to want to completely be without me. I'm not going to be the cool dad anymore, just like you guys, and that's going to hurt. But I think it'll hurt me more with my girls. I'm weak for them.
Yeah,
like really weak.
Yeah, well, I have my son is total mama's boy. Like, I mean, he could care less about me most of the time. I mean, he loves me, and he like we share a lot of things. He loves the race car and all that kind of stuff. But he's mama's boy, and then my daughter's total daddy's girl.
Yeah,
but, I'll discipline both of them though. Like that they listen to me better than my wife.
I get
that.
how
it goes.
Because she spends more time with them because I'm traveling and everything. But
plus the ladies are just like more compassionate and stuff. They just word it differently. Like kids they could easily talk smack to mama and not say the same thing to dad.
I correct my kids different than my wife, which is, we've talked about balance in the house. That's where we balance out. Like, I can look at my daughter or my son and they stop. They know, like, Dad's not messing around. Let's just end it here.
Absolutely.
But Mare, like, wants to negotiate. And it's kind of like negotiating with terrorists when you're talking to your kid. You know, it's a lose-lose because they're just getting more empowered. And, you know, Max thinks it's like, let's make a deal. No. Do your homework. There's no deal to be made. Do your homework. You get on your bike after.
Yeah.
But I'm a little firmer with them than she is. But when I have to discipline like Rosie, or I have to take her iPad or whatever it is, she cries and it crushes me.
Yeah.
Like Josephine, not so much, but maybe because me and Rosie couldn't connect when she was a baby. Bro, it fucking melts me. And I'm just like, oh, man. But that's why I say, like, when they're older, I don't want to lose my girls. Because I missed that engagement with Rosie when she was a baby.
Yeah, and I'm not like about like smacking your kids or anything like that. I'm just like the whole like negotiating thing back and forth. Because kids are kids. They're gonna push the envelope as far as they can and to see where it breaks.
That's
and it's
their number one job.
Like, no, I'm not even gonna let you manipulate that whole scenario.
Mary will engage in that negotiation. We're short stopping it.
Yeah.
For sure.
This is not happening.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, guys, we could literally talk for hours about our kids and everything. It's been a while. But Danny, I just want to truly thank you for this immense problem that kids I went to elementary school were facing. Like I said, high school, after high school, college. I mean, the amount of kids that were in my college class, just on the wrestling team alone, that are no longer with us for these reasons. And, you know, I knew about it. I heard about it. We all did. They're topic of conversations. But for you to grab the bull by the horns and actually do something about this and genuinely change lives, like everything that Billy said about you is spot on, and then some. Like, I got the chills like 3 times while we were talking. And as you were telling your stories, dude, I pictured my mother-in-law. And a lot of the things that you were saying, like, I just saw her face at the funeral. I saw the conversations that were going on. You talked about the trickle-down effect on all these loved ones. And you know, my brother-in-law, TJ, like, I love him at his soul. Like, we had so many great times together. And I know that who he was on the inside is not necessarily who he was when the drugs were in his system. But he was such an amazing person. But to hear your story and to have something that I was able to feel firsthand. And, you know, I've said it before that, like, my wife's never going to be the same. You know, a piece of her heart's gone. And my mother-in-law, same thing. So for you and your mom to literally save lives, dude, I can cry right now just thinking about it. It's super, super impactful shit, and we need a lot more of that.
Danny, why don't you take a second before we end here? Let everybody know, you know, your organizations, how to get in touch with you guys. And if anybody can't reach out to Danny or isn't comfortable with it, please hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Pete, the same. We're more than happy to get you guys in the right direction and connected with CFC and Relevance.
Yeah, so our nonprofit, if a family's looking for help, you need an interventionist, you just need some guidance, you're looking for housing after treatment, you're looking, how do I make this leap from treatment to life, reach out to CFC Loud and Clear. Our website is healingus.org, and our phone number, you could reach us at 732-702-2242. If you need treatment and you're looking for treatment for a loved one, you can contact the same number, 732-702-2242. That'll go to our admissions line, and we'll direct you to wherever you need. We'll talk about whatever services you're looking for and direct you in the right path.
Now, also important, not only is this for substance abuse, but Danny can provide a lot of outlets just on support. Whether you've recovered or you're struggling with something, reach out, guys. He's got a wealth of services at his disposal.
Yes, we treat both substance abuse and mental health.
Yeah.
So PTSD, depression, anxiety, anything that you're dealing with. You just need a friend to talk to. We're there for you.
And they're also at the cutting edge of a lot of new forms of treatment, like you were telling me before. About microdosing and ketamine treatments and stuff like that. He's got a lot of services to offer and just a good ear to listen to.
Yeah, so we've been exploring some new treatments. One thing that I pride myself on is that I don't stick to the same tape. I know as science expands, as our knowledge expands about mental health, we're going to come up with new things. So our program, I like it to call it evolutionary in the sense that it's always evolving with the next big thing. And what a lot of people have been seeing it, the whole microdosing psychedelics being used for mental health. And there's been recent breakthroughs with ketamine. Ketamine's been used for a while with treating mental health, but it's been ungodly expensive. It's really hard to regulate the dosages that someone is receiving, and it's usually done in like unlicensed clinics. So we were one of the first, actually the only mental health and addiction treatment center that offers ketamine treatments in its program, and it's 100% covered by your insurance. And we're seeing a 90% success rate with turning individuals around that are suffering from major depression disorder with suicidal ideation.
Now, have you seen it help people get off other medications to combat depression as well?
Yeah, so one of the prerequisites is that you have 2 failed medications. So that failed means you either had side effects from that medication or they didn't, successfully turn around your depression that you're experiencing. So you have two failed attempts, the worst thing about mental health is that a lot of places you become like a guinea pig. And because there's a wealth of different medications we use for every ailment out there. And the doctors don't know. They just have a favorite that works for a majority of people, and you get that, and we see if it works, and that takes 3 weeks, and that doesn't work, and we up the dose, that doesn't work, we try to change it again, and all that does is mess with somebody. And I don't know if you've ever met anybody coming off of an SSRI or an antidepressant or anything like that, but they become suicidal. Like, that is a side effect of the antidepressant medication. They gain weight, there's a lot of side effects. So what's great about this is that they're actually able to get rid of all the SSRIs, all the antidepressants and stuff, and use only the microdosing, which has a lot less side effects comparatively. Yeah. And it's 2 treatments a week, and then you eventually do only 1 treatment a week. And a lot of people, they usually stop using it around 12-week mark.
Awesome.
And then they have, they're good. They're just in a good place. And
so after 12 weeks of microdosing, they really don't have to have any other microdosing or medicine or anything else like that. That in itself is a hidden victory, because a lot of these other alternatives is write a script, and then once you're on, you're on. Yep. And if you're off, well, the side effects you just told us, suicidal thoughts. Well, that's the reason why you're on them in the first place. And now you're just hooked for life. And the side effects on those labels and on the commercials and everything, like, I think those side effects in a lot of instances are more extreme than whatever you're treating. And I personally dealt with that with seizure meds. I take seizure meds twice a day. They up my dosage. It was messing up with my mind. I didn't take the medicine. I had a seizure. Now I'm on it consistently, and I'm looking for, some other alternatives. I heard about stem cell can be really big for seizure stuff. Like, there's a lot of like organic Mother Nature type things out here that can make people feel better.
And peptides are a huge thing, and that's our new place in Toms River that we're opening. I have a peptide doctor coming in, and it's amazing what they're doing with amino acids now, and literally they're healing people like almost like you're an X-Men or something. Like it like healing in half the amount of time from actually having a cut and like an open sore kind of thing. But they're exploring what it does with healing parts of the brain. Biggest thing with seizures and those type of things, we deal with that. A lot of people that suffer from anxiety, they take anti-anxieties for a long time. What do anti-anxieties do? They end up breaking down your nervous system, and that's why people coming off them have seizures, right? So these peptides are actually basically rewiring your nervous system inside out in a relatively short amount of time. And so there's a lot of research around that. So maybe that's something we're introducing now to our curriculum in our Toms River location.
Danny, I can't thank you enough for always being at the forefront of, like you said, an evolving environment, being at the forefront of different treatment opportunities, and utilizing all the tools at your disposal to help everybody.
Absolutely.
I think it was a good episode. And again, if
so,
anybody
too.
needs any help, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. You'll be in good
Thanks,
hands, I promise.
Awesome. Thank you again, man.
Thanks,
Really
Will.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
You got it.
That was some heavy shit, man.